joining me, Martin McDonald, in the commentary box today. And with me is Magnus Backstedt. Here is your two previous winners, 2018, Jolien Dura and Kirsten Wild. Last year, not taking to the start, but Jolien Dura is. Last year it was Kirsten Wild from Lorena Wiebes and Lotte Kopecky, who'll be looking to try and take the victory for Belgium. Today, the Women's World Tour, Lizzie Deignan leading going in to today ahead of Anna van der Breggen and Elisa Longo Borghini. There is your standing, 16.22 to Anna van der Breggen's 1,222. Longo Borghini, Vos, Vollering, Ludwig, Lippert, Kopecky, Van Vleuten and Nuvia Doma are your top 10, but Lizzie Deignan and Anna van der Breggen not on the start list for today. In terms of the best young riders classification in the Women's World Tour going into this one, Liana Lippert leading in the Women's World Tour standings for the best young rider ahead of Michaela Harvey and Juliette Labousse. The riders are down to sign on. As you know, all the races are very vigilant of the current COVID protocols to allow us to keep racing. Magnus, Lisa Brennauer there we saw could be a good favourite for today, but you've got to look at this team, Valcar Pro Cycling, and what they've got some really fast finishers in their team today.
Yeah, definitely. Most of the teams have brought the top sprinters because it is known to be a bit of a sprinters race, although with the wind that we have out there today, I think chances are that it will be a reduced bunch sprint if anything. You know, crosswinds are likely to happen out on the open roads of the Belgian territory of you know, where we're racing today. So very much looking forward to this one. But yeah.
CCC Live, they have got Valerie Germain, Sophia Bertz, Zolo Canyon SRAM. Could be a good day for Hannah Barnes today. I'd love to see Hannah back sprinting, really going for the sprints again.
Yeah, it would definitely be nice to see her do that. I think she's gone, you know, she started her career as a very, very fast sprinter, and then kind of did the transformation to become more of an all-rounder and more of a climber. But I think since she turned up onto the women's professional scene, the sport has changed. It's becoming more and more. You can't be that sort of good all-rounder anymore. You have to be extremely good at one thing, and with that, I think she's kind of ended up, unfortunately, somewhere in no man's land. She's not quite there with the best climbers, and it's not quite there with the best sprinters. So I think she might need to have a bit of a rethink.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what Audrey Cordon-Rago was saying in a pre-race interview that I was watching. Mitchelton Scots, watch out for them today. They've got Jess Allen, Grace Brown, Gracie Allen, Jess Roberts, Sarah Roy and Yannicka Ensing in the team. The team of Sunweb, though, Suzanne Anderson, Pfeiffer Georgie, Alison Jackson, Franziska Koch, who took a bit of a tumble in Tour of Flanders, Julia Suk and Lorena Wiebes. Watch out for her. Lotte Sudau, Lotte Kopecky here. What a season she is having. She's on phenomenal form. Third in the Tour of Flanders, second in Gent-Wevelgem, fourth in Brabant-Chapelle, National Road and Time Trial Champion, and a stage in the Giro. But she's up against Jolien Dura today.
She is, yeah. I mean, it's for Jolien Dura, it's a bit of a revanche on sort of rematch, I should say, on the Belgian national champs. But Lotte Kopecky has been looking really, really strong and sprinting well as well. So I think she's definitely one of my top favourites today with the 5 stars next to her name.
She is indeed. We'll, as we get going down on the start, there's Lisa Brennauer in her German national champions jersey. Fourth in the Tour of Flanders at the weekend. Third in Gent-Wevelgem. And ninth in the World Championship road races. She is carrying some good form into this race today. CCC Live, the team here, continuing next year. Lotte Kopecky heading over to ride for CCC Live next year. And the rollout there is Jolien. Just run you through some of your other jerseys that you'll be seeing on the rollout here. The next G team, and they've got Charlotte Coles, a good sprinter. Multum Accountants are in this this sort of white and gold jersey. There's Alice Barnes in that white jersey there as the British national champion. You've also got Cyclotel in the orange, and they've got the likes of Imogen Cotter and Alice Sharp from Ireland. Doltini Van Eyck, that white and red jerseys, but Catherine Schweinberger is a fast sprinter for them. And in terms of the route today, crosswinds all the way down towards this circuit, and then 2 loops around here of 46.3 kilometers, Magnus.
Yeah, and you know, it's not a particularly difficult circuit if we're looking at the elevation. I don't think we go above 20 meters at any point today, but it is known to be windy around here, and that tends to cause havoc. Some narrow roads, some twists and turns, and the usual sort of Belgian road furniture to deal with as well.
And unfortunately, this was a crash just before we came on air here. This is Anna Plichter, and the rider, I think, just on the other side of the barriers is Sylvie Matteson. So Audrey Cordon-Ragot just tending to her teammate, and I think the pace that has been up for early on. We just, as we came on air, Magnus, a few crashes we started to see.
So for Anna Plichter, Nicole Statinger and Celia Mathieson went down in this first crash here, and there's been another couple of crashes as well, and this one here was Alexis Ryan and unfortunately Pfeiffer Georgie, who came down in this one. So yeah, fingers crossed that there's nothing too bad with Pfeiffer.
Yeah, we always, as we always say, whenever we just get these, we just saw that just before we came on air. We never speculate on anything. We'll always ever bring you is official reports of any accidents. If we get any updates as we go through, Magnus and I'll keep an eye on the reports, and we'll bring those to you as they come in. 50 kilometers to go. Thanks for your company today. This you can see this CCC Live team up towards the front. Anuska Costa there for Parkertel Valkenburg, and Anuska, Magnus, going to be part of the big announcement from yesterday that we were all pretty happy about. This new Jumbo-Visma team going to be headed by Marianne Vos, and Anuska teams up with Marianne again.
Yeah, fantastic to see that Jumbo has decided to set up a women's team, and from what I understand, it had a lot to do with the bike manufacturer that's been transferred across to Jumbo-Visma. So Cervelo are moving away from Sunweb and going across to Jumbo-Visma, and one of the requirements for that deal was apparently that they they set up a women's team. So I think it's great to see that. So a bit of action here.
Anuska Costa going on the attack. Elisa Longo Borghini, Christine Majerus now. So clearly motivated today. Anuska Costa, former national champion. And she's been kind of there. She's been sort of popping up in races recently, quite near the front. But this is a decent attack. We've been following the race as it's gone on, and they've not really managed to get any breakaways clear. Alison Jackson just latching on to the back of this one. Elisa Longo Borghini has a glance back over the shoulder here, and Anuska Costa quite happy with this. She wants to persist with this move. A lot of the sprinters teams just looking to try and control things at the moment. So some more riders just coming across. Maggie, this is a part of the world you raced in quite a lot, the De Panne.
Yeah, definitely. This was more or less the back of my house kind of thing. Yeah, I spent so many years riding around on these roads, and it's an interesting phenomenon today in that we're talking about this as being a sprinter's race, but as soon as you add about 10 to 15 kilometers an hour winds, then it becomes a completely different bike race, and everyone is talking about how do you save energy, how do you set yourself up for the sprint. Today is about investing energy smart and creating, making sure that you're never out of position, you're always where you need to be at the right right time, and local knowledge to the roads and you know, how the road furniture sits, how the corners, basically how the country is built up is absolute key. And these little attacks that may or may not look like you know, an awful lot right at the start, all it takes is one turn like this, and then you got a bit of crosswind all of a sudden, and that's what changes the whole situation of the bike race.
So brought back together, you could see the work being done just to pull this, get this race back under control. Good to see some moves going there. There's Jess Roberts wearing 54 here on the back for Mitchelton Scott, former British champion. Is Jess Roberts good sprinter? Jess Roberts won a couple of stages of Tour de Bretagne last year, a race that's hopefully coming up quite soon. If she's got designs on this one today in sprinting, she needs to move up a little bit.
Yeah, it's not the best of situations where she's sat there right now. It's too far down, and it's so easy that the bunch all of a sudden ends up splitting up in 2 or 3 sections, and you find yourself on a chasing foot. So if she's looking at doing something with today's race, then I think you need to get yourself up there into the top 25, 30 all of the time, so you can kind of sense when things are about to happen and make a move with that. But yeah, like you said, just really quick sprinter. But I do wonder whether it's for her today or whether they're looking at someone else.
Chantal van der Broek Black there in that orange jersey, wearing number 12. Phenomenal victory in the Ronde van Vlaanderen at the weekend. That attack over the top of the Oude Quaremont, and for me it was just had echoes of Fabian Cancellara, the way she accelerated, seated acceleration when she attacked, and phenomenal victory.
Yeah, it was perfect timing that she did that with. So you know, and then obviously having the legs to get over the top of Patersburg in the final run into the finish as well. It wasn't an easy ride by any stretch, but she's clearly got very good legs at the moment. And you know, a race like today, being as nervous as it is, and everyone trying to make little attacks and chasing for position all of the time, if you got those kind of legs like Chantal clearly has at the moment, just sitting in the bunch there, not really making any noise, and then putting in another big move like similar to the one that she did on the weekend, it could actually work on a circuit like this, because if riders are getting dropped, then all of a sudden there aren't that many teams who have the numbers to sort of organize a chase behind. Sellen van Dijk decides that this one needs to be shut down as well.
Now we're coming in towards the finish, so they're going to get the bell this time. So 2 laps of just a touch over 46 kilometers. So you're getting to see the run in towards the finish here. Lotte Kopecky. For Lotte here, Maggie, just almost here with a lap to go, just maybe checking out the run of the finish straight, where the wind's coming from, whether she can feel the wind. Should we kind of making a mental note potentially of what gear am I going to be in when I make my move here?
Yeah, I mean, this finishing straight is long enough to and straight enough to not really be a big worry. So the only thing that you'd really have to get the sensation for is where is the wind coming from, where are we likely to be on the road, and how do I sort of set up my sprint. If she's got any teammates there to help her out in the final, then you know, I think she should definitely be probably the biggest outright favorite for this one today. But yeah, it's all about getting organized, making sure that you carry as many teammates as possible into those final couple of kilometers.
So Lotte Kopecky backed up as Lisa Longo-Borghini attacks yet again. Jessie van der Bulk, Alana Kastrik, Ariana Fidanza, Abby May Parkinson and Danique Bram. That's who's backing up Lotte Kopecky today. Lisa Longo-Borghini, and in her usual style though, doesn't want to make it a day for the sprinters. If you've been with us since the season restart, this rider has pretty much set most of the races alight that she's been taking part starting. So going on the attack here, and Trek Segafredo today. They had Loretta Hansen, Anna Plitt unfortunately crashing out. They've got Ellen van Dijk, you've seen, and Trixie Warwick. So for Trek Segafredo today, not really a sprinters. So if they want to take it today, this is how they got to run it.
Yeah, no, they haven't really got a top-end sprinter with them. Not in the class of Jolene Dore or Lotte Kopecky that we were just talking about, or even Lorena Wiebes, who we haven't mentioned yet either. They kind of need to make it an aggressive race and hopefully try and pull a smaller group away, at which point they, you know, the riders they have are fast enough to finish the job off in a good way. But if there's a group of 30, then I think that's too big.
So Lisa Longo-Borghini, Christine Majerus and Alison Jackson are your three riders that have just clipped off the front. So Jackson looked like she was just managing this group, not coming through. So she'll wait to see if this group starts to become established. And for Bull Dolmans, Christine Majerus got a good kick on it, but for that team today, it's got to be all about Jolien Dora, the former winner here of this race. But Christine Majerus, one rider that we know can get clear and take something from here.
Yeah, I do wonder whether Bulls Dolmans are actually going for just the one car today, or whether they run a bit of a similar kind of setup as they were in Flanders, where they have a number of riders who are fast enough to finish off the job. But you know, it's really, I think, quite important to for them to, you know, share the honours as well, as Audrey's. I think she's actually behind the peloton here. She stopped earlier.
Yeah, she's just chucking into the radio. So just talking into the radio there. The
no, she's clearly quite upset.
yeah, she stopped with Anna Plitter earlier on. So yeah, Trek team car coming up to her. She just saying sounded like she was saying she couldn't continue there. So Audrey Cordon, Rago, has dropped back in the peloton. You saw the teammates just just chatting to her as they went past. Romy Kasper just swings off the front here for Parker-Tel Valkenburg. So the riders just manoeuvring themselves into position. Ellen van Dijk looks like she's going to go again in this one. So the team car just coming up to Audrey Cordon, Marigold. It's kind of this point sometimes, though, Magnus, you just kind of need to give a rider their privacy, don't you?
Yeah, you do, definitely. When you can see they're clearly upset, and there's no point in keeping the camera on them, really. I mean, she is a big rider, big name rider. She's the current national champion of France, so of course she will have the media attention on her. But sometimes I think the cameramen need to realise what's actually going on there. But
yeah. Amy Peters rides out here, so on the front for Bull Dolmans. So that team, there's Abby May Parkinson for Lotte Sudal, for you British fans, and a lot of you followers of Abby May Parkinson is in here working for her teammate, we're sure, Lotte Kopecky. 42 kilometers is finishing circuit, so the way that this one is ridden, the way so they have a headwind as they head out of De Panne, up towards past Houten, then crosswinds as they head towards Bootshoeken. I hope I'm saying these right. You say them much better than me. Towards Oost-Dunkirk, and then left past Kogsijde in towards the finish. They have a crosswind from the left, but it's so open here as well.
Yeah, there are not many trees that you can hide behind, that's for sure. And but this is what makes the racing in this part of the world so exciting. I mean, when you're looking at the profile card, and you know, you start realizing that we're never actually getting above really 20-30 meters of altitude at any point. You think, well, how can you make an interesting bike race from that? But it is more often than not absolutely flat out and really chaotic, which for me was always interesting. I always always enjoy these kind of races where you had to fight for position all the time, but maybe that's because I was naturally quite good at it. I'm sure that other riders will have other opinions of it.
Danik Bram from Lotto Soudal now on the attack. So one after the other here. We're starting to see some teams just firing riders off up the road. So we'll pick out some of our, I'll give you my list of my favourites for today. So the riders to watch out for. So Jolien Dura, Lotte Kopecky, we talked about a lot. Sarah Roy, potentially, for Mitchelton Scott. So she could, if it comes down to a kick, she was 5th in the Ronde van Vlaanderen and 4th in Ghent-Wevelgem. Elisa Balsamo from Valkart Travel and Service. European under-23 champion, 8th in La Course, but hasn't really had the sort of recent results. Lorena Wiebes coming back in. She won GP Euromat at the end of August, but again, the races that we've seen her in, she hasn't looked quite like she's been firing on all cylinders.
No, she hasn't, and I think we can only blame that on this really weird season that we've had. You know, some riders have got it right, some riders have managed to mentally stay on top of the game, and others have struggled more with it, and with that, this season has become a bit more of a write-off for them. But you know, it's the season is drawn to a close, and I'm sure even Lorena Wiebes would like to finish off with a big bang here and put her hands up in the air for her team. So, you know, I think as soon as you get in towards that final couple of races of the calendar, then riders are really digging deep into the reserves for anything, and they realise there's a lot of riders out there mentally fatigued because it's been a condensed, really high volume race season, and a lot of riders are starting to struggle. So if you can find that little bit of motivation at this time of the year, it's usually easier to do good results than it is at the start of the year.
Yeah, just give that a little bit of a boost going into the winter, and hopefully by the start of the next race season, hopefully where all of us will be back to something, new normal, whatever that is. So we hope for that, and we go into cyclocross, of course. We've got that, lots of that coming up on Eurosport GCN over the course of the winter. Fingers crossed, everything permitting. If you're just joining us today, welcome aboard. Thanks for your company. We're on round 10 of the Women's World Tour, the Driedaagse Brugge-De Panne. I'm going to keep trying to say it, and Magnus says it much better than me. 3 days of De Panne, and Bruges, as it's as known as well, the French pronunciation. 156.3 kilometres today, 2 laps of 46.3 kilometres is the finishing circuit. And the last year's winner, Kirsten Wild, not taking the start today for Sarah Tizet WNT, but she took the race last year ahead of Lorena Wiebes, Lotte Kopecky. Then your top 10 last year, Lotte Hentala, Suzanne Anderson, Elisa Balsamo, Marta Bastianelli, Amelia Farlene, Elena Sierra, and Mariana Voss. So it's always sometimes good to look back over the years and just see who was here and on form last year.
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting, you know, you mentioned one of the riders there, Amelia Farlene, who's, I think, one of these riders who has she been outside of the top 10 at any point in any bike race? She's usually around that sort of 5th to 10th on pretty much every given terrain, and you know, she used to be a very, very, very fast sprinter, and yeah, I don't think we should discount her from proceedings today either.
Yeah, FDJ have got plenty of options in this race today, and that can come time. Sometimes it can be a double-edged sword, because it's all right. Who do we work for? Because Stina Borgli from Norway, good sprinter. Clara Caponi, really fast sprinter, yep. Great track rider. Then Amelia, that you mentioned, Lauren Kitchen has also got a good kick on her. So yeah, sometimes it's trying to decide out there on the road amongst themselves who's actually going to be the one that goes for it today.
Yeah, but I think at the end of the day, that comes down to the sport director, who should have the finger on the pulse a bit and know who's going the best at the moment, and kind of narrow it down to 1 or 2, and then that has to then be decided between the riders out on the road. But if we're looking at that team as such, if they can get everyone lined up and working together towards one target, then they got a really, really strong lead out setup as well.
Catherine Schweinberger, you can see there, wearing the Austrian national champions jersey, the white jersey with the red stripes on it, just behind Alice Barnes here, the British champion. And the Dolcini Van Eyck Proximus rider, so Catherine Schweinberger, good sprinter. The GP Euromat, 7th in that, national champion. So she could be someone to watch out for from one of the smaller teams, one of the teams that we don't always see. There's the Multum Accountants team, that white and gold colours, as we mentioned them a little bit earlier on. So the 2 Irish riders in the Multum Accountants team. Looks like Trixie Warwick back at the car here, just filling up with bottles.
Yeah, or trying to. It's so difficult with the tight-fitting clothing that we got these days to get some bottles into the pockets, and obviously with gilets and all the rest of it on top, it's never easy.
It isn't, and it's good to. It's good. Trixie is a rider, such an experienced rider. 39 victories as a pro, turned pro back in 2005, and a real mentor to the younger riders in the team. And and your daughter Eleanor being one of them.
Yeah, definitely, and you know it's a really interesting team, and the way it's composed within Trek Segafredo. It's a real family feel. They're all really backing each other, and I think sometimes why you see someone like Audrey Codon-Rago just now being so upset from what she saw happening with Anna Plicha, it just kind of emphasized how tight they are as a group of riders, and how much they look out for each other and care for each other, and that can be a really positive thing if it's managed in the right way. And with Ina Teutenberg at the helm of it all, you know, they got a very good setup of riders.
Just having the camera was just following Lisa Brennauer up through the peloton. There's your Team Next G colours. This team, Charlotte Cool is the sprinter we could potentially be looking at for Team Next G, and quite an interesting team with headed up kind of by another Paris-Roubaix winner, Service Carnarvon, with his daughter Britt. Not on the start line today, but it's an interesting team, that one. Yeah,
it is definitely. They've really, it's an under 23 setup as well. So they got a very strong junior program, and they've now taken that up to the under 23 as well, and really focusing on developing riders. So it's Servais and his wife that are running that team, and very successfully so.
Vita Heine, the rider there that started that move for Team High Tech Products. So good little move now, just starting to clip off the front here. So 2 riders just trying to get clear at the head of the race. So Park-Hotel Valkenburg are really active in this one. You can see just maybe trying to take a little bit of pressure now off the front of the peloton, Bull Dolmans. It could be a good thing to maybe, Magnus, just let a group just get clear, just to try and control things, would you say?
Well, a group of 2 or 3 riders, definitely, that wouldn't be a bad idea to let them drift up the road here now. We got a bit of a cross headwind at the moment, the way they're traveling, so it's relatively easy in the peloton, and really hard work if you're trying to pull away from the group itself. So yeah, if they got the legs, then definitely it's a good idea to try and move here, but I think it will be hard to get up there.
I think Esther Van Veen is the other rider that we've got off the front at the moment, with Vita Heine from the High Tech Products team. Park-Hotel, we had Anuska Costa was attacking, very animated when we came on air. So 36 kilometers to go, really wrestling in the winds today. If you weren't with us at the top of the program, it's blowing a hoolie, as Brian Smith would say today. Literally 21 to 26 kilometre an hour winds, gusts of 38 to 44, and that's the thing. The gusts sometimes are the bits that's always hard to deal with when on this sort of countryside.
Yeah, it can be, but usually if it's already windy, it doesn't tend to sort of bother you too much extra. But the problem is when you're riding in winds like this is to always keep that focus and keep yourself in the right place. And we always got that in Belgium on so many roads, that the concrete slabs and the gap that we have in between that, in the center of the road, which is running with the riders. We've got another move going here, so quite a lot of attacks really. But yeah, staying out of that, what we call we call it the valley of death. Basically, you put your front wheel in that one and there is no coming back from it, and that tends to really create a very nervous peloton all of the time.
Yes, indeed. It was Esther Van Veen that was off the front, so brought back, and straight away the teammates takes off. Soraya Paladin just gets up here, and then Franziska Koch. So he's just keeping an eye on things here at the moment. But yeah, one after the other, just going. Amelie Deirdrickson, you can see there in the orange of Bull Dolmans. Suzanne Anderson just moves up. We'll just see if we can see Lorena Vibus, but like any sprinter, you don't really, she doesn't really what is there. She is. You can see just behind Soraya Paladin now. Most sprinters we don't really generally see until the last few hundred meters.
Usually, if you can see them before the final 3 or 4 kilometers, that means that they're taking too much wind and they won't really have the legs to create something. So, but yeah, a lot of moves here, but it's at a point where it's really difficult to pull away. You need to basically come from further back in the group and get a clear run, so you're carrying more speed. Attacking from second row really isn't going to work. You're not going to get a big enough gap so that the riders behind having to take wind as well, and then end up doing a drag race, legs against legs, basically, to get clear. So I think we're going to have to wait a little bit longer before the road sort of turns a bit around to the left again, and we get that more of a straight crosswind or maybe a slight tail crosswind. That's when we can see. That's usually where the big damage is done.
Jessie van den Bulke was the rider there from Lotus Soudal, and the Parkertel Valkenburg team. Marianne Marcus, Femke Marcus rather, is the rider that's very animated. Ellen van Dijk there on the front here, with Christine Majerus right behind her. Clara Caponi moving up for FDJ in the white and blue colours.
We can see how easily the bunch sort of follows any rider who makes a move. They're just straight on the wheel, and it's very, very easy as soon as you sat behind someone. So, so making a bit of a turn again here now. So let's see if that changes the makeup of how the peloton is sitting. But no one really seems to want to be able to create that gap.
It was a good demonstration with the flags on the corner there as to the wind direction.
I find it quite interesting though that Bulls Dolmans are using Amelie Deirdrickson for a lot of the work relatively early on. I would have thought she would be kept back and looked after Jolien Dode for you know, setting up the sprint later on. If you use your lead-out riders too much, a lead-out rider, especially the final rider, needs to be looked after pretty much like a sprinter themselves. And yes, we're saying that this isn't necessarily a sprinter's classic, but you still need to ride in that way while still looking after yourself in the crosswinds. So I would have kept Deirdrickson back a little bit here and not spending quite as much energy as she's doing.
Yeah, Bull Dolmans right through to the front. Here comes Chantal Vandenbroek Black up towards the front. And the colour, Maria Julia Confalonieri is the Ceratizit WNT rider that's moving through. She's got Julie Leth with her. Valcar Travel and Service, the pink jerseys of Valcar, move through. It's Balsamo, former world junior road race champion, current European under-23 road race champion. Could it be working for her today? But Chiara Consoni, GP Plouay, if you were with us for that one, took the bunch sprint in that. It's Chiara Consoni, so could be a rider that they can watch out for today from that team in the pink. And Diana Klimova, the Russian champion for Kogas, is also battling it out for the front. British champion there, wearing 21, Alice Barnes. As Emilia Farlene, Magnus, you were talking about, third in line here for FDJ.
Yeah, you know, a super strong rider, and like I said, possibly has lost a little bit of her sprint, but gained an awful lot in every other area, really. But I think it's interesting to see quite a few of the women have done this transformation and become much more all-round, so that they're capable of doing just about everything really quite well, but they haven't got that one thing that they are super good at. And you know, Hannah Barnes been one of those that I think has done that. Emilia Farlene, again, one of the riders that done that transformation. And I think they're finding themselves in that position now where they're always good, but they're never quite at the very top step. And as the sport grows and we continue at this level, as now the whole of the Bulls Ullmans team is on the front, so expect a bit of crosswind action here now as we turn left.
They are indeed. There's Vita Heine. We had her on the attack a little while ago. 31 kilometers to go, and straight through the trees. The wind is blowing. They battle for the front of the race, though. Getting that supremacy over the front of the peloton, and it's Bull Dolmans that are winding it up. So they've gone into the crosswinds and may put the hammer down a little bit to try and split this race. There you go, right on cue.
Yeah, there's certain signs that you can always tell when a team is starting to assemble themselves on the front. There's been some form of communication going on, either between the riders themselves or from the team car, that we are turning left. It's going to be crosswind. I want you on the front. Let's put the hammer down a bit and see what happens. And as you can see, the effect is being felt down the back of the group, and splitting up even relatively close to the front. So right now, unless you are up there in that first little bubble among the top sort of 15 riders, you're gonna be spending an awful lot of energy to get yourself back in.
You are indeed. So Sunweb, Bull Dolmans put the hammer down here to try and split this race as we head in towards the finish. Magnus said when we came on air there was going to be a smaller group sprint coming in towards the finish rather than a big bunch kick. So anyone that's potentially been hanging out down the back now could be in trouble if Sunweb and Bull Dolmans persist with this effort now and try and keep this group away. Alison Jackson now comes through to the front for Team Sunweb. Elisa Longo-Borghini is there, poised and ready. Chantal Vandenbroek Black there. Suzanne Anderson for Sunweb. They've just kind of brought Lorena Wiebes up towards the front now, Team Sunweb. But if they can catch a few riders out that fancied their chances, that were caught a little bit too far back, that just take some of the potential rivals now out of this race come the finish.
Yeah, it definitely could do. I mean, I don't think it had as big a devastation as what we thought it would be. But Alice Barnes is one of the riders who's been caught out here as well, and I think that was actually Hannah as well. So both of the Barnes sisters been caught out by this split. And if you sat up there in the top 20, 30 riders the whole time, you can sense when these kind of things are about to happen. When you see the one rider after another from one team coming up, and you're starting to see another team then catching on to that and massing towards the front, you know that, okay, I've got about 30 seconds to a minute tops before this is going to go you know, into full race mode, and with that you got to hit the panic button and do whatever you can in whatever way possible to get yourself to the wheels of those two teams.
Majeras for Baldamas. They've definitely pulled the pin out on this one. Here we go. So Amy Peters comes through now. They has a glance over the shoulder just to see what sort of damage that they're doing behind. They have split the peloton. There's a couple of groups now behind. As Jolien Dura now, it just tucks down Super Air on the bike, and this, they're starting to stretch the gap. Canyon Stram, the Barnes sisters, Alison Hannah, they had one teammate who was just about getting them close as they went through the buildings there, and they've come out on the other side, and the gap now is starting to stretch.
Yeah, it is, although I think they did turn a bit, so I think the wind has gone into being slightly more favourable, but that doesn't necessarily mean there is any easier to get back. It just means that the speed is that much higher. You have to roll bigger gears, and it's still going to cost an awful lot of energy to get back into the mix of things. But I think what happened as well, so from a racing perspective at the front here now, it's not quite as important for Boels Dolmans to keep on pushing as hard as they were when they could try to create that split. But as you can see, plenty of other riders wanting to get into the mix and start helping out, because it's actually easier to take a turn on the front than it is trying to fight for positions further down the back.
Yeah, Elisa Balsamo, the rider in the pink there with the white, just a bit of a bandage on the knee, took a bit of a tumble last week, did Balsamo, and fast finisher is the Italian, so we were watching out for her. 6th in this race last year, Elisa Balsamo, heading through Houghton, and then they're going to get a left turn at the end of Houghton here, and then it's left again. So they're going to have a cross tailwind as they head along this section. They go through Werner as well, and then come back out, bit of a headwind section, and so it's going to open up again.
Yeah, there's every chance that this will split up again from here, and I think once you've seen that one team or two teams are happy to do this, it also means that everyone else is now fighting for position that much harder down the back now, trying to get themselves near the front just to make sure that they don't miss the split once it happens again. So it's almost like, yeah, the alarm bells are ringing full on down in the group there now.
They are indeed. There's your gap. Is that Barnes now that's going to make launching a move to try and get across on her own? She used the teammates to try and get back into this one, but knows that the race could be disappearing up their own. It is Alice Barnes now that's trying to come across on her own. She had the teammates in there, but now decides that if she's going to get back in, she's going to have to do it. So bold move. She's going to have to do it, and she's going to have to do it quickly, though.
It's an expensive way to close a small gap like that. You're better off trying to motivate the rest of the group to work with you. Take short, hard turns on the front and chase back on in that way, but it does require a certain amount of cool and calm, and I think once you've sat in that position where you've been left behind and you can see that, okay, I could probably close that gap myself now, it's so easy to just strike out and try and bridge it on your own, whereas if you waited for another kilometer, then the group would close it, you know, working together instead, and you save a ton of energy.
I think Tiff Cromwell, the Canyon SRAM rider that's in there, just always locks those elbows in. You can see it, and Barnes has got on there. So this Alice Barnes launched herself across that move, and it's just managed to just drag them back in there. So that's potentially a little bit of a kick. That could be a race-winning sort of expenditure of energy to try and get across there. Yeah,
it definitely could be, and as I said, it brought the rest of the group. So just talk to the riders that you're with in the group, be a bit more verbal, and sort of try and motivate everyone to take a couple of harder turns, and you all get back on without spending an awful lot of extra energy. And I think the sort of emphasis has gone out of the drive on the front of the peloton here as well, which is, I think, one of the reasons why that group caught back up.
They go back on Anuska Costa straight through to the front here for Parketel Valkenburg. 25 kilometers to go. Still a considerably smaller group than it was. Janneke Ensing on the back here. On the right there, number 56 for Mitchelton Scott, just moving herself up and into position. And the FDJ team are all in formation across the front.
Yeah, Manu, we've got a couple of kilometers here now as we're heading in towards Werne, where it's a little bit less sort of crosswind. It's more of a tailwind, and then we go through the center of Werne, come back out again, and we continue with that sort of slightly more tailwind until we got a sharp 90-degree left and start heading back towards the coast, at which point we will have straight crosswinds again.
So that aerial shot there, CCC Liv, and in terms of the CCC Liv team today, they've got, in terms of their sprinters, Evie Kuipers, not a bad sprinter from CCC Liv. Valerie DeMay, is a fairly handy sprinter as well, but no real sort of out and out, you would sort of earmark a real sort of bunch specialist there, mate, apart from Kuipers for me.
Yeah, I think you're right there. It's but it's you know, even if you look around at different teams, there are very few sprinters who you would categorize as being those that will always podium or be very, very close to it. You have maybe 3 or 4 or 5 sprinters in the whole of the women's peloton that you would classify as 5-star sprinters, and the rest of the teams are having to do whatever they can to you know, to match that, or to try and position themselves well enough to you know, effectively be towed into a top placing. And you know, a team like CCC Liv would I think be put in that situation today. Find the right wheel and hope that drags you up into the right positions.
Kogas, those red jerseys now up towards the front. Suzanne Anderson on the outside. Alice Barnes just have to take the time to recover here. Tiff Cromwell moves through. Hannah Barnes straight through and back up towards the front. They won't make that mistake again. Parketel Valkenburg, though, keen to try and do something here. They've been one of the most animated teams throughout this one. Esther Van Veen winding it up here on the front for Parketel Valkenburg. The team that Lorena Vivas really came to prominence racing for, Parketel Valkenburg, and a lot of that team going to be merged into the Jumbo-Visma team.
Yeah, by the sounds of it, it is going to be. I haven't really heard any updates on what's happening with Valkenburg, or with Parketel Valkenburg for next year. They've not really released any new signings, as far as I understand. But hopefully they will continue, because it's been a really strong team and a good setup over the last couple of seasons now, and they're clearly producing some very talented riders.
They are indeed, and CCC Liv, they're going to be, that's Evie Kuipers on the front, so she's the one doing the work here. Balsamo, there's a little bit of protection at the front here for the Valcar team. They've got some interesting riders in there. Have the Valcar Travel and Service. For you fixed gear racing fans, Margot Vigi on the start today. Ilaria Sanguinetti was also on the start, so plenty of those pink jerseys in there for Valcar. Heine right on the back there. Trixie Warrack not far from the back of the peloton. Julie Leth here, 85 for Sarah Tizet, WNT. And lining this one up nicely now for the final 20 kilometers of the day. So the wind really has played a part today. The first hour, they averaged 42 kilometers an hour. They covered 86.42 kilometers in the first 2 hours of today's race. 97 riders from 17 teams taking the start. We're going to stick our necks out. You're going to make a prediction, Maggie?
Yeah, go on. I'm going to go with Lotte Kopecky.
Okay. Good one. Okay, I'm going to go with Jolien D'Hoore then today. I think
Okay.
I think it's going to be a battle of the Belgians. Definitely. I think she's definitely on some good form. So we'll see how that runs out. And Boels Omens, if you didn't watch the Tour of Flanders on Sunday, go back. It was just one of the most special team performances, I think, on the weekend.
Yeah, it definitely was. It's a bit like watching the Koenig Quickstep of old, and yeah, it was just fantastic to see how they were backing each other. After every move there was someone else ready to follow the next or set up the next attack, and again, so yeah, just really special race.
And then one of the most unusual scenes I think we've seen for a while with Van der Breggen and Van Vleuten, when Annemiek van Vleuten attacked. It was very unusual.
Yeah, it was a bit, wasn't it? But yeah, it was such a good event.
Grace Brown just moving up on your right there in the yellow and black, my apologies, from Mitchelton Scott. Alison Jackson leading out, so Team Sunweb look like they're all in for Lorena Wiebes today. She's got to finish it off though, as the rider from Team Sunweb. So they're just having a look there. Soraya Paladin.
I think it's interesting to when you're looking at Team Sunweb as well, how they ride. They're always as a unit wherever they're moving. Really, it's very rare that you see them sort of drifting too far away from each other. And you know, when you're racing these kind of races, it's absolutely key that if you move as a unit, you spend a lot less energy, and you find that even if you end up on the back foot at some point, you can get yourself out of trouble quite quickly. So it's really impressive for me to see how they race in that way and how they look after each other.
The team here of Trek Segafredo just moving up towards the front. So interesting to see Trek Segafredo. We had the attacks from Elisa Longo-Borghini. Maybe they're throwing it all behind Loretta Hansen, who's she's not quite, if you look at the results over the last couple of years, not quite had the results, but certainly was known as a bit of a sprinter early on.
Yeah, I mean, she's definitely quick, there's no question about it. But yeah, like you said, when you're moving across to a team with a lot of big names, you're not always going to end up getting your chance to race for yourself as well. And with the aggressive racing style of Trek Segafredo, more often than not, they will play someone in the breakaway. And with that, if you're more of a sprinter, then you know, you end up sprinting for fifth place to 10th place all the time, which is not really in the genetic makeup of a sprinter to do. So yeah, this could be an opportunity for her to get the backing from the likes of Longo-Borghini and Ellen van Dijk. And you know, Ellen van Dijk taking those big turns, she's phenomenal at that.
Here goes
more crosswind.
Yeah, into the crosswinds, and it's Trixie Worrack and Elisa Longo-Borghini that now up the pace on the front. So as every time the road changes direction, or they've got a crosswind section coming up, we see the teams coming through to try and split this. So again, you've got to be super vigilant at these points. So the riders that had to make those efforts to get back on the previous splits, and we're just seeing from that helicopter shot, just seeing Alice Barnes just, as you said a little bit earlier on, Maggie, just that you've got to be 30 seconds a minute ahead of the next corner to not get caught out again.
Yeah, you definitely do. I think they went a fraction early though, because we're not likely to get any real crosswind. Obviously, we're not on the ground with them, but getting that feel for the wind and then hitting it is really what you need to do. So looking at this here now, it's quite a lot of tailwind going on.
Pressure is on, some little splits, so teams somewhere have got to keep an eye on this one. So the orange jerseys of Bull Dolmans, Trixie Warwick and Elisa Longoborghini were the riders that started this. Amy Peters and Chantel Vandenbroek Black are right up there. Sarah Roy right on the wheel for Mitchelton Scott. Roy's got a great finish on her, as has the Aussie. Is on some good form, is Sarah Roy.
It's interesting to see the Bulls Dolmans are really keen to pick this up and work with it, as well as they now took another corner. And this is now, you can see the whole field is moving across towards the right-hand side of your picture. And again, it's just a question of time before that bunch is going to fracture and riders are going to start getting dropped again.
So timing is key here. So Trixie Warwick and Yannicka Ensing are the two riders that just drifted off the back. So you can see the little stretch, that little gap is just starting to open. There, you'll be hearing panic all around that part of the peloton. So Valerie DeMay now just dropping off the back.
Rear wheel puncture.
It's a shame for Valerie DeMay, as looking for the team car. Not the time to puncture. If ever there was a time to puncture, that's not it. Let's see how what the wheel change is like. So the key here, try and get the rider back in before the cars go past.
Yeah, not the fastest of changes there. He didn't have everything set up.
He missed the bottom sprocket there as well when the wheel changed.
With the new electronic gearing, you tend to basically change the wheel with it being 2 sprockets up. Yeah, definitely everything was done in the right way. It was just that the quick release wasn't quite set to the size of the dropout, and yeah, it could have been quicker, but that's the way it goes sometimes.
It is indeed. There's your split. So you can see Lotte Kopecky and Lorena Wiebes are two riders that have been super vigilant, as you would imagine, from riders of that experience. But as the front group now starts to split, now they get in and start to work from this one.
Marty, looking at the two Valcar riders down there, they are really in a very, very dangerous position. You can see the two pink jerseys right at the very back of the group. They're just sitting in the wind. I give it another couple of kilometers. If they don't move in and start taking turns there, they're going to find themselves in a spot of bother back there.
They are indeed. So Roy is there for Mitchelton Scott. The group is split. You can see riders going off the back of the groups, but all of our, you would say, our big favourites have made it into this front split. So our fast finishers, our sprinters are in there. We've got a Bull Dolmans jersey in that group there. And they got the Trek Segafredo bit. This race has absolutely disintegrated now under the pressure at the front. We knew the splits were going to come, and we're in sort of 4 and 5 groups now.
Well, this is what crosswind does, and this is why I find it so exciting to race and to watch and commentate on as well, is that you never know when it's going to come, but you know it definitely will happen. And when you sat there, the nervous energy and the adrenaline that builds up when this starts to happen, and you find yourself, you know, in the front group and ending up driving this on, it's such a great feeling.
Is indeed. So Balsamo on the back. Lotte Kopecky is the rider that's in there. That looks like the style of Longoborghini. You can always tell from Longoborghini the shoulders, the way that the shoulders go. Brennauer has made it in there. Roy has made it in there. Anderson, Uniken, Majerus is also in that group. So this split here, we did see Lorena Wiebes. It's
opened up a big gap as well, because it just pulled a neutral service car in behind these guys. So this split is significant already.
It is indeed, and there's the shot of the echelons on this section, and it's an agonizing position to be in when the bunch splits like this. But Christine Majerus, the champion of Luxembourg, Lonika Uniken here from Bull Dolmans, Amy Peters has also made it in there. Ellen van Dijk is there for Trek Segafredo.
Yeah, it's a bit of a miscommunication there. No one really coming through, and Christine Majerus is just going the wrong direction into the group in her change in the very end.
Jolien Dura just saw pop her head out there, so Jolien has made it in here for Bull Dolmans. That's why they're driving it. There's the gap back to the next group, and those orange CCC Live jerseys are the ones on the front. There's Alice Barnes that's in that group, and Zach Capone on the second from the back there. Romy Casper is in this Chasers as well, and Chantel Vandenbroek Black is on the back. Sophia Bertizzolo just focusing on that group ahead. Can they close it down?
I think that will be a tall order with only 13 kilometers to go, and some very motivated riders out the front as well. I don't think any of the big teams are really going to want to let any group come back, and there are enough riders out in the front group as well, from as in terms of domestiques, who will sacrifice themselves now with this short distance to the finish line to keep this rolling through. And as so often with a little bit of crosswind, it's actually easier going through, taking the turn. As we see, the Valcar riders are coming up and starting to work as well. They were forced into position where they had to get in, start taking a turn, because they get a bit more rest. Sat in here spending 15-20 seconds on the front is far better than just being sat on the back and not really getting that cover at any point.
There's Jolien Dura, Suzanne Anderson. Alison Jackson just comes through, just behind her, followed by Anderson. So there's your next rider going through. Then Julia Sook. So Sook has made it in here. There's Ellen van Dijk from Trek Segafredo.
I'd just like to say, has Ellen van Dijk ever missed a crosswind split?
I don't think so, actually.
Because I was watching her just before it happened, and she was in halfway down the group, and even though, you know, it was full on, and the split started to happen, we still find her in the front group.
Yeah, I've got one rider to get, but so far you got Lisa Brenau from Sarah Tizet WNT, Sarah Roy from Mitchelton Scott, Suzanne Anderson is from Sunweb, and Lonika Uniken, Christine Majerus, Alison Jackson, Elisa Balsamo, Elisa Longoborghini, Lotte Kopecky, Lorena Wiebes, Amy Peters, Ellen van Dijk, Jolien Dura, and Julia Sook. That is who I've got so far. And I have I think I got one more rider to go, maybe two. I think I'm missing two so far, but that's pretty much the makeup of your front group. $11 kilometers to go, 19 seconds is the gap. If you are just tuning in, welcome aboard. The Driedaagse Brugge-De Panne is the race to Women's World Tour Round 10, 156.3 kilometers today. We've got 2 laps of this finishing circuit into De Panne. And it is a very select group that is now off the front. This is Elisa Balsamo, European under-23 champion.
The interesting thing with this particular way that the race is developed now is that anyone who hasn't got a sprint to talk about are going to find themselves in a very strange position, because the speed is so high that it will be virtually impossible to attack from that group. So it's very much favor of the sprinters of that front group. But it's a bit of Bit of confusion going on there. Some riders not wanting to take their turns and starting to try and sit on, and as soon as you do that, all the speed goes out of the front group.
Does indeed. They've got to keep this one organised. 10k to go, 21 and 37. So if they keep this one going here, the winner is going to come from this group. So they'll go head in towards Oosterkirke here, then go left, and then they'll have a crosswind from the right. But as you said, Magnus, pressure completely gone out of the group now.
Yeah, it has a bit, although we've got a couple of corners coming up, so you've got to allow for that. But as we're now heading down towards the sea again, the final run in, as soon as we hit the seafront there, should be pretty much a cross headwind, so it will be harder to work with, and we could see that sort of pace being knocked out of the front group, and that will allow for a few attacks to start happening. And I would like to see someone like Ellen van Dijk is very often on the attacking front. She keeps on making all of these moves but never really gets them to stick. And what I would like to see is for her to sort of start looking at maybe timing the attacks in a different way, where she's doing a big seated accelerations from further back in the group, even last wheel at this point, and trying to time it so when the riders on the front stop taking turns and the pace slows down, then she's just carrying that speed already through, and she'll more often than not then get a bigger gap quicker. And with the time trialing ability of Ellen van Dijk, you know, she will be very difficult to bring back.
Team Sunweb got to get a handle on this one. So with Bull Dolmans, Sunweb. So I think I'm going to give you my group, and I think I've got everyone now. So Franziska Koch is Vittoria Guazzini is the other Valcar rider in there. You got Julia Suk from Sunweb, Jolien Dura from Bull Dolmans, Ellen van Dijk from Trek Segafredo, Amy Peters from Bull Dolmans. I'm sorry they're not in order. Elisa Balsamo from Valcar Traveller and Service, Lorena Wiebes from Sunweb, Lotte Kopecky from Lotto Sudal, Lisa Longoborghini from Trek Segafredo, Alison Jackson from Sunweb, Christine Majeras from Bull Dolmans, and Lonneke Unikin also from Bull Dolmans. So that's, I think that's who's in there. I think I've got everyone now.
Looks about right, Marty.
So Amy Peters, they've got to have a little chat here as well. Bull Dolmans, Sunweb, and they've both got a chance. What would be your tactic here? Say, because this group behind could come back here with Barnes. Is there an opportunity? Majeras is just going to keep going here like this.
Yeah, she is definitely, and she's going to try and sort of get some more speed back into the group again, because that group behind is coming very close indeed. But yeah, I think they need to really start getting that rotation through. But if you've been working hard in the crosswind and you're sitting there kind of on the limit a bit, as soon as you turn into a headwind or a tailwind and you feel like, oh, I can recover a bit, I'm not going to be dropped here if I just sit on the back. It's so easy to do that, and then all of a sudden no one wants to take a turn. So it'll be interesting to see once we turn left here now when we get down to the seafront, whether we get a different approach by the riders then. But I think this group's going to make it back on.
Yeah, and Rihanna Marcus and Jean Corrivar have been driving it for CCC Live. Sunweb, it's a gamble. It's a big gamble here, letting other riders come in. Alice Barnes is going to get back into the mix here. And there's Chantel Vandenbroek Black. So Sunweb are letting Chantel get back in here. That's looking at the form that she's on for Flanders. If they decide, as you said, multiple options that they can have in this race, everyone's going to be thinking they're just going to be working for Jolien, and then all of a sudden Chantel takes a flyer.
Yeah, exactly. But I think if we continue and thinking that this is going to come down to a sprint, and yeah, for me, probably one of the most dangerous ones to let back into the race again was Clara Caponi. You know, Alice Barnes, yes, we know she's very fast, but she's looked on the back foot here now on a number of occasions, and I don't know how much she's taken out of her to get herself back into this. But you know, she's another rider who's definitely capable of winning. But I think there is. We're unlikely to see this whole group go to the finish. I think we will see a smaller move going up the road by not that many seconds, but still.
Caponi was the rider from FDJ that you just saw there, and her teammate Eugenie Duval here, wearing 43. Cameras, of course, concentrating a lot on Chantal van den Broek-Black. Real in-form rider, 6.7 to go. Vittoria Guazzini and Balsamo in those pink jerseys for Valcar Travel and Service. Elisa Balsamo was saying on social media yesterday and today that she fancied her chances at Corrivar now for CCC Live. Starts to make a move down the left. So these are the sort of riders that could potentially try and mix this one up. Just couldn't quite get the gap there.
No, it's a bit of a headwind at the moment, and with that you gotta attack on the sheltered side to really get the slingshot out into the wind and create that gap. So difficult one to do. But it looked to me like Chantal van den Broek-Black was on the verge of making a move. So I think she kind of cancelled it.
There you go, right on cue. Back up to the front. So Sofia Pertizzolo has also made it back in to this group with Rihanna Marcus and Jean Corrivar. So those are your CCC Live riders. And just let that one kind of got telephoned a little bit by Uneken as she made a move. 5.7 to go. Paul Dolmans.
The way Chantal van den Broek-Black is sitting there looking, watching what's happening in front of him, watching what's happening behind, leaving a bit of a gap. I think she's going to have a go at some point here, and a real go. It's just about timing and getting that right opportunity.
Amy Peters and Amelie Deirdrickson's made it in there. As Amelie Deirdrickson, 13, and Deirdrickson. As Amy Peters, rather, that went down the outside. So Amy Peters wearing 15 today. The helicopter's just trying to find our group here. 5.2 to go. Watch out for Wiebes. There she is, a little bit down mid-group here. 5K in, and Jolien Dura is not far away as well. She's got, you can pick her out. She's got the orange jersey with the Belgian champions stripes on the cuffs.
I think Wiebes is the one rider who's been looked after the best up until this point. She's really not put her nose in the wind at any point, and plenty of teammates around her covering all the attacks. So I think it's fair to say Sunweb ideally would like this to come down to a sprint.
Ellen van Dijk, though, goes for Trek Segafredo. They got two riders in here, and out of the firepower sprinters, Ellen or Longo Borghini are going to have to get clear if they're going to do something. Sarah Roy in that yellow and black jersey for Mitchelton Scott. The Aussie can just freelance this one, so can Alice Barnes. Kopecky second from the back, wearing number 1 in that Belgian champions jersey.
So if you're Caponi or Alice Barnes at this point, I would say straight away on Lorena Wiebes' wheel. She's got all the teammates around her, and they look committed to her as well. So I don't think I think if you follow that wheel, you're not going to be far off in the right position when the sprint opens up today. Yes, she might get challenged, or they might get challenged as a team by Bulls Dolmans, but I think those two teams are the ones that are going to end up having the drag race towards the line with in terms of a lead out.
The other rider they're going to have to watch is Lisa Brennau. Brennau's got some good power, the German champion. Watch out for that jersey coming into the finish, and she's sometimes a rider that we can sometimes underestimate a little bit as Lonika Uneken attacks, and Suzanne Anderson straight on her here for for Team Sunweb. Longa Borghini tries to go as well, but this is a good move now by the Bull Dolmans rider, and Anderson is latched on. Longa Borghini is trying to come across, and Guazzini, that looks like from Valcar, that's getting in here. So a powerful move, just kind of maybe running a bit of interference off to help Jolien Dura.
Watch out where the next Bulls Dolmans rider is sitting now, though, because if this stops at the front here now, it's likely to be another big attack.
Chantal van den Broek-Black ominously moving up now, the presence of the former world champion, as Longa Borghini and Guazzini look around. 3.2 to go now in towards the finish. And in terms of positioning, Maggie, as you said, it's a long finishing straight for the out-and-out sprint as Van Dijk moves up on the outside here.
Yeah, you definitely need a good lead out for this one. It's too far from the final corner to start the sprint there, so you're going to have to follow the wheels a bit to get to the point where you can start your sprint round about the 200, 150 meters to the line. But look at Lotte Kopecky as well. She's really riding very, very smart all the time, in the right place at the right time, not missing anything, but not really spending an awful lot of energy either.
Super confident. Lotte Kopecky growing in stature every time we've seen her this season. Third in the Ronde van Vlaanderen, second in Ghent-Wevelgem, fourth in the Brabantse Pijl, national road and time trial champion. Can she step onto the top step of the podium today? One after the other, they're firing the attacks up the road. Our Bull Dolmans, Uniken was the last one to go. Majerus, the champion of Luxembourg, now goes as they head towards the final couple of kilometers. And Ellen van Dijk here from Trek Segafredo, super vigilant on the front.
Yeah, the only problem is, though, that her teammate, Longa Borghini, is sat right near the very back here, about 4 or 5 riders from the back.
Sunweb just trying to get themselves organised. You can see the style. Lorena Wiebes, fourth from the front now for Team Sunweb. 2K to go.
Too early.
Yeah, I was just literally about to say, do you think that's too early?
Yeah, a little bit too early, especially if the front 2 riders here can just take relays and keep doing a 2-up time trial for another kilometre or so, and then start doing that sort of one rider peels off, then they can make it all the way there. But I think the way they've just taken to the front there now, if Bulls Dolmans get organised behind, they're likely to run out of power to look after Wiebes.
Suzanne Anderson in a world of pain trying to move up, but Amy Peters, is she going to be going out for Bull Dolmans? Everyone's looking at Jolien Dura. So many options in this group. I have Bull Dolmans, Valcar and Guazzini trying to keep this one under control here for Valcar, for Elisa Balsamo, but Amy Peters, many riders would look at her for the sprint, but now makes that late move as she looks for the Flamme Rouge. Can they close it down? Wiebes is getting brought back here by Jackson. Jackson closes it down up to Amy Peters. This is a dangerous move for everybody else. Team Sunweb have got Wiebes in the perfect position as Longa Borghini just tries to close it down now with 1 kilometre to go.
1K to go, and Borghini struggling to make the junction there, and I think Wiebes is just taking up the... No, it's not.
Jackson moves through.
Yep.
They're lining this one up. Alison Jackson on the front. Wiebes has made it onto the wheel now. Amy Peters poised and ready. Brennauer, 4 riders from the front now. The German champion. Caponi is there. Jolien Dura. Alice Barnes just tries to close that gap down. Jolien Dura just moves up now towards Lorena Wiebes. Balsamo a little bit far back, as is Lotte Kopecky. Sarah Roy is poised and ready. Jackson leading out. Caponi tucking it down for FDJ as they look around, they stall. It's a long finishing straight as Longa Borghini now starts to make the move. Jackson persisting with the lead out as Longa Borghini closes it down now. Lorena Wiebes is in the perfect position, but Jolien Dura's right on the wheel. Who's going to be the first rider to go? Wiebes has got to make sure that she doesn't get boxed in now as Jolien Dura goes for Bull Dolmans. Wiebes, though, comes off the wheel. Lisa Brennauer is there. Wiebes comes through. Barrier side. Dura's holding the front. Wiebes is there, the throw to the line. Jolien Dura puts the hand up. Wiebes came through barrier side there as it looks like it's between Jolien Dura, Lorena Wiebes and Lisa Brennauer for the podium.
Messy sprint that. It was, yeah, kind of the speed sort of dropped off as they came towards the final 200-300 meters, and he completely took Lotte Kopecky out of the equation. Found herself boxed in down the back there, but Jolien D'Hoore got to the front and opened up the sprint. And I think Lorena Wiebes just yeah, hesitated a bit, got caught on the back wheel, had to come around and then picking the barrier side again. So we get in this picture here. See, Wiebes is following the Bulls Doman's rider, and then Lisa Longo Borghini opens up the sprint. Wiebes follows that, but then Borghini starts to run out of legs, and here now you can see Jolien D'Hoore opens up her sprint.
Jackson kept on with the sprint once. You had a look at the kick, though, of Jolien D'Hoore.
Yeah.
Gaps Wiebes a little bit. Wiebes has to go barrier side. And the gear difference there, Maggie.
Yeah, massive. And also that Jolien D'Hoore just really took her across the road a bit there as well, which nothing that I would say would, you know, that there was any wrongdoing in that. It just sort of threw Lorena Wiebes somewhat. But yeah, massive difference in terms of gear that they're sprinting on. I would have said that Lorena Wiebes was probably slightly under-geared for that.
Yeah, phenomenal. Yeah, I was just saying the power there of Jolien D'Hoore. Wiebes really, you can see revving on that one. Jolien D'Hoore just kind of you got to be brave when you go barrier side, though, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think she had much of a choice. She committed to the left-hand side quite early on, and then Jolien sort of took her across to the left a bit.
Lorena Wiebes second last year. It was Kirsten Wild. Jolien D'Hoore, the winner in 2018, and is on phenomenal form. Is Jolien? It's great to see. I love it when we get to see us that we haven't had a huge opportunity to see the sprinters in action like this so far since the season restart.
No, we haven't. It has been really good, and yeah, there you can see the difference is a bit more than a rim depth.
Yeah. So they gave her the rainbow one there. So the
takes really long.
The jerseys. So thanks for all your company today. I hope you enjoyed that. What a race! It's a great part of the world to watch a bike race. Here's your top 10. So Jolien D'Hoore takes it from Lorena Wiebes and Lisa Brenner. Lotte Kopecky in fourth. Sarah Roy, Sofia Boitizzolo. Alice Barnes gets in there in seventh. Lisa Longo Borghini, Helen Van Dijk, and Alison Jackson hangs on for a 10th place there. Alison Jackson from Team Sunweb. So fifth for Sarah Roy for you Aussie fans, and Alice Barnes for you British fans. Alice Barnes, good finish in seventh, but used a lot of energy coming back in those splits.
Yeah, but looking at that, that was well worth the investment. You know, getting seventh after it looked like the race was more or less over for her with about 15 kilometers to go. So, you know, good on her to get up there and mix it up in the sprint.
Yeah, good to see the British champion in there. There's Lorena Wiebes from Team Sunweb, and Bull Dolmans. They'll become SD Works next year, and Jolien has announced she's going to be retiring at the end of next season. It's kind of seems sort of next season, Magnus, that it's kind of the closing of an era almost with the riders. There's like a big, it's almost like there's a big book that's being closed next year with the riders that are saying that they're going to do one more year.
Yeah, it definitely sounds a bit like it. But yeah, I mean, they've been racing for a long time as well, and there's so many young, strong riders coming through as well. You know, and you can't keep on racing forever. So each rider will know themselves when the time has come.
And there's that motivation, you know, hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll have the Olympics next year. And we think Jolien and Lotte, we will be, they'll be hoping for Olympic Madison title. That's the one that I imagine she wants to finish on.
Yeah, why not? I mean, they've been there before and mixed it up with the best. So, you know, I wouldn't put it past them. So why not go for one more Olympic Games?
So the replays there of the sprints. They used to do a time. Wasn't it a time trial that they used to do around this part of?
Yeah, it was the final time trial of 3 days and 3 days of the Panne when it was 3 days. Used to come along the seafront there. Always sketchy as anything, with a little bit of sand on the sort of nicely paved walking path there, and yeah, finish up in there.
Amelie Deirdrickson there. You can see. Christine Majerus, another phenomenal performance. I'm such a fan of Christine Majerus. I think she's a phenomenal powerhouse of a rider.
Yeah, definitely, and a rider who can do just about everything as well. But I think as a team rider, and I wouldn't want to call her a domestique, but you know, she plays the domestique role quite often. She's invaluable. She understands every different type of bike race and never really misses a beat when it comes to placing her teammates in the right place at the right time, and clearly has some good legs to do some damaging turns on the front if required as well.
Yeah, it's difficult to call someone who's won 35 races as a pro as a kind of domestique. I always feel that I do her a bit of a disservice sometimes.
No, I really don't think that a domestique is a disservice by in any way, shape or form. It's you know, we all act in that role in one way or another at some point in our career, some more than others. But you know, when you have someone like that who understands racing in the way that Christine does, then you got to use that to his maximum potential as well. And you know, I mean, she's a fast sprinter, but not the fastest. But she understands how to get the riders set up there. So, you know, to me, that's a playmaker, and playmaker is probably more of a fitting description to what Christine Majerus does.
I like that. I'm going to keep that. I'm going to use that again, the playmaker. It's kind of like the point guard in basketball, isn't it? The playmaker.
Yeah,
it's kind of that you can't do anything without the playmaker. Team Somewhere picking apart that sprint, as we said when they came through 2K to go, and you said too early. They can kind of go away, maybe analyse that sprint, because up until that point, Somewhere, but they were pretty much, you would say, they'd ridden the perfect race.
Yeah, I think they did, and they were just that little bit too eager to take up the lead out. And even when you had the attacks coming within that final kilometre and a half, they were too keen to go around that rider that was making the attack. So if I was going to sit back and analyse any of that sort of stuff, I would say to the riders, look, when someone makes an attack, you don't have to be right on the wheel of them. Just if you're 5 metres behind them, make them think that they're still trying to pull away from you, but you're still getting a certain amount of shelter, and just sit there until they back into your front wheel and then go around them. But you always try to leave it out there for as late as possible, or use as many other riders as you can wherever they're coming from.
Here's Jolien Dora. I think we're going to hopefully hear from her now. Just sorting out the national champ stripes.
Potentially one of the last time we see the Bulls Dolmans kit out there as well.
Yeah, as you said, it will become SD Works next year, and yeah, and then next year we've got Jumbo Visma coming in as well, and then all the teams are playing musical bikes at the moment as well, as all the bikes swapped down, as that was all announced within minutes of each other yesterday.
Yeah, Sunweb going on to Scott bikes, I believe. Mitchelton Scott going on to Bianchi bikes, and Jumbo Visma will end up on Cervelo.
Yeah.
So that's a current musical game anyway, of musical bikes.
It's always interesting to see that sort of dynamic and how it unfolds between the teams. So yeah, Mitchelton Scott on one of your old favourite bikes.
Yeah.
So they're lots of technology. So if you didn't see the news yesterday, keep an eye on the Jumbo Visma, the announcements that Marianne Vos is going to lead that new team. CCC Liv, Lotte Kopecky moving across to that team. Looking at the work there by Jean Korovar, Rianne Marcus, and bringing Sofia Bertazzolo back. I think they'll benefit greatly from the addition of Lotte Kopecky, that team.
Yeah, I definitely think they will do. You know, the way she's riding with the confidence that she has at the moment, you know, she's a great leader within that team as well. So, yeah, should be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, so just we'll wait and see if Jolien is going to be interviewed here. Ooh.
Just getting a few vibes here that they are discussing, the jury is discussing the sprint with Jolien and Lorena Wiebes. So,
ooh, so we'll see how that you can always tell if they. It's taking a while.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're looking at the tapes, and oh, there you have it. So it's all changed. So that sprint, the regularity. So it goes to Lorena Wiebes, Lisa Brown, Lotte Kopecky, Sarah Roy, Bertazzolo, Alice Barnes, Elisa Longo-Borghini, Ellen Van Dijk, Alison Jackson, and Eugenie Duval rounds out the top 10. Did you think that she closed the door massively there?
There was a clear change in line with a bit more than around about 100 meters to go, I'd say. But then after that, she kind of kept her line. So if we're looking at the sprint here again, she goes in the middle of the road here now. Lorena Wiebes kind of gets caught on the back wheel. There's nothing foul going on there. At this point here now, she's making the switch across. But
would you say though she's got the front line though?
She's
so
got
she
the front
couldn't really
line, yeah.
see her that she was. It wasn't that she closed the door when she was right alongside her. That's interesting. That.
So, as a sprinter in that position, you know which side the rider is coming from. You can feel it. It's like a sixth sense that you got as to what's going on around you and behind you. Clearly, at that point, she made the move across, possibly a little bit too violently, but it wasn't too bad. I don't know. If it was me, I would have definitely given that a pass.
Ja, eigenlijk ging ik net even een seconde te laat. Want Jolien kwam eigenlijk
just
over
had
me
to,
heen. I
started my sprint about a second too late, and
maar daarna ben ik alsnog
I kind of lost my speed a little bit, getting stuck behind
dat was nu wel heel
Borghini. And
ben jij verrast door de deklassering van Jolien?
were you?
Nou, ja, ik weet het eigenlijk niet. Ik hoor het nu pas voor het eerst eigenlijk. Ja, ik merkte wel dat ze
She's talking about
richting de lijn kwam, of richting de hekken kwam.
The sprint with Jolien, and were you surprised that you got caught across there, or that she got declassified?
Dus ja, jammer, maar
it's she didn't think it was too much of a thing, but it's one of those things.
Nou ja, veel aanvallen waren er in de finale en de meiden deden uitstekend werk om alles te controleren.
And said the team did a great job as well to control everything.
Maar dat heeft uiteindelijk allemaal goed gedaan.
But we came up a little bit short in terms of the lead-outs, but apart from that, we were good.
How did you experience today?
It was a nice race with some wind and some action, but most of all the peloton came back together. But yeah, at the end it was a small group, and that was really good, and a nice final. So a good day on the bike.
Thank you, congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
Lorena Wiebes takes that after Jolien Dora is
Relegated.
Relegated is the word I was looking for.
Yeah, I was looking for that because then I couldn't quite get my Dutch English sort of wires lined up properly. But Lorena was saying that she was a bit surprised that Jolien got relegated from that sprint. She didn't think it was too bad a move. She said she lost the sprint in the opening bit there where she kicked the second too late, and then she got caught on the wheel of Elisa Longo-Borghini, and Jolien was on the other side, so she had to back off a fraction before she could kick again, and that's where she lost it, she said. So
let's have a look at the highlights, and it was in the crosswinds where they really set things up. Bulls Dolmans and you can see so many Sunweb jerseys up towards the front. There's Grace Brown on the front of that group with Alice Barnes right behind her. Barnes in the end decided to go it alone as she jumped across. Valerie DeMay, that rear wheel puncture for Valerie DeMay. Her teammates Jean Corivar, Rihanna Marcus and Sevilla Bertazzolo did make it back into that group, but it was getting smaller all the time. Udekin was very active for Valdolmans, as was Christine Majerus. Lotta Kopecky just hanging out down the back of the group there, and Balsamo had Guazzini there for Valcard Travel and Service. They brought Caponi back up here for FDJ, and it allowed Chantel Vanderbroek Black into the mix. And then Ellen van Dijk tried the long attack here for Trek Segafredo. Didn't manage to get clear though. And then Amy Peters. That was the late attack, and it was really kind of, it ran sort of interference over the lead out, really, that late attack by Amy Peters.
Yeah, it did a bit. I think her attack was a little bit earlier. I think there was a couple of later attacks that sort of interfered with it, but
you can see here the high cadence of Lorena Wiebes, and that was where I think Jolien Dura just closed the door a little bit too much on Lorena Wiebes and has been relegated, and the win goes to the Team Sunweb rider. You can just see Lorena there just having to pause there, Maggie, before, as she said in her interview, just started her sprint a little bit late, and Jackson carried on with the lead out, and it was almost that caught, would you say that caught Lorena with having to come round her?
Well, to me it looks like she's coming up on Elisa Longo Borghini a little bit too quickly, and then ends up in the back wheel of her, and there was no way out really. So that's I think where, you know, initially she lost that sprint, but as it happens, she still wins the race.
She does. There's your top 10. So they keep putting it up, and the reason they keep putting it up is because it does change from time to time. If you wonder why they do it, because sometimes a rider will be in there and then gets moved out as well, and it's definitely a good addition to the calendar. This race, it was always one that I've always enjoyed these roads. It always, as we always say, you know, the wind can give us as exciting racing as loads of climbs.
Sometimes more exciting, I would say. Definitely more aggressive racing and more action packed. But you know, like I said, I've always enjoyed racing out in this part of the world, and I've always enjoyed the sort of chaotic nature of the racing that this kind of scenery provides. And yeah, you're not going to get any arguments from me when it comes to enjoying watching racing here nowadays.
The flat races, we have the weather maps open. All us commentators are all weather geeks. We love reading a wind map. We'll draw arrows across our road books to sort of signify the wind direction.
It's a must.
It is. Not being able to be there, especially at the moment. Sometimes we have to rely on that. I can't remember. Is this one of the theme parks got a funny name? I can't remember the name of this one. I should know this.
I can't quite remember the name of this particular one, but they have a few with some interesting names, definitely.
Yeah,
I think it's Bob Janikeland, I think.
Could be. You might be right. I'll leave that one to you. You've been there more than me.
I've never actually been to that theme park.
Yeah, nice little roller coaster on the side there. Thank you for thanks for your tweets as well, by the way, today. Owen Rogers, thank you. And Sai as well, and John Maguire. He's turned over now. He's gone to watch something else. But yeah, so much race action here on Eurosport GCN at the moment. I just picture all of you now with a wall of televisions, just trying to watch all of them. I know Maggie generally has the TV, the laptop, the iPad, and his phone going on any given day.
Mostly when if it's cyclocross day as well, then usually I end up having a load of screens going on, because you can't miss any racing. I don't know when we're going to get it next.
Oh, There was a little word there, wasn't there, as she came past from Lorena Wiebes.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to be a little bit sort of upset about that. Number one, you lose, and number two was a bit of a squeeze. But yeah, it usually comes down to which commissaire you have on that given day, whether you sort of get away with that kind of a move or not.
Just to give you a heads up on what else, the next race that we hope you've enjoyed all of the Women's World Tour races that we've brought you since the recent season restart. It's just been phenomenal. We've had some amazing racing. We have got scheduled La Course Madrid 6th to 8th of November, so that is the final round of the Women's World Tour. So keep that one in your diary. Lots of cyclocross coming up as well. Super Prestige this weekend on Saturday. The Koppenberg Cross on the 31st, which is one of my favourite days of the year as well. So if you haven't checked out and you haven't joined the cyclocross revolution, make sure you join in on that. The Vuelta, the Giro concluding as well. And then tomorrow you have 3 days of De Panne for the men tomorrow. And you're back with Jez Cox for that one tomorrow.
I am.
So make sure you tune in on that on Eurosports. We've got so much options to be able to watch as well. Eurosport app, and the GCN Race Pass. So make sure you get on board with all of those. There is your top three just getting ready for the podium. So our Belgian champions jersey and our German champions jersey. For some riders, a few weeks away to the Madrid race. It's going to be. It's interesting to see who decides that the legs are done for the season,
and the head. That's I think the biggest issue.
Lisa Brennauer, as we said, always never a rider to discount or underestimate coming into a sprint finish like that, and gets herself up there onto the podium as we have it now. There's your 1, 2, 3, all your prizes you bring with you generally. Lotte Kopecky is your third place rider, and I think there's so much to come from that rider next season. So much promise. I think after a stage in Nigeria, she wasn't quite sure what's clicked, but something clearly has. And there you have it, Lisa Brennauer from Ceratizit WNT, the German national champion. Super experienced is Lisa Brennauer. Takes a second today after fourth in Ronde van Vlaanderen and third in Ghent-Wevelgem. And I think Lorena Wiebes here will breathe a huge sigh of relief, moving over from Parkertel Valkenburg to Team Sunweb, and gets onto the top step of the podium for her new team here in this one. She did win the GP Euromat in August, but not a class of field that we had here. And as I always say, they always have the best trophies in Belgium. I know you've got some cool trophies from Belgium on the mantelpiece.
Yeah, there's a few kicking about there.
So Christine Majerus also onto the podium. I missed out on what the prize was there. Is it most aggressive rider?
Yeah, I think it was the most aggressive rider. Yeah.
So the combativity prize. And unlike the other day, they got flowers today instead of veggies in their bouquets. So we had that the other day.
Grace, the bike on the stage is yours.
Grace Brown, she gets the bike. As clear, she gets the bike. It's been a raffle. Oh, the intermediate sprint. She gets the bike there. So I thought they'd had a raffle out on the course. There's your full podium. Lorena Wiebes, Lisa Brennauer, Lotte Kopecky, Christine Majerus, most aggressive rider. The intermediate sprints winner there gets the bike. There you have it. I think that's it when we go to the helicopter shot. A great day's racing. There is your top 10. Lorena, we'll just go through it again. Lorena Wiebes, after Jolien Dora was relegated in that sprint. Lisa Brennauer, Lotte Kopecky, Sarah Roy, Sophia Bertasolo and Alice Barnes all up there. There's the shot of the finish coming in towards the line. Lorena Wiebes of Team Sunweb. Jolien Dora just moves across there, but Wiebes is awarded the victory.
Lotte Kopecky, Lisa Brennauer en Lorena Wiebes. Cheers. Proost. Een flinke teug, een flinke stap.
One more shot of your podium. So Lorena Wiebes, Lisa Brennauer and Lotte Kopecky.